All right, how's it going, everybody? Thanks for joining tonight. Appreciate it. Tonight's going to be a fun live stream. We're just thinking the other day about kind of what to do for a Tuesday night, and so I echo Kalori's hand motions there. That's how I feel about tonight's live stream right there. So, but no, I think tonight will be fun. It's MGP. It can be controversial. It can be all of that. People either love it, hate it, but I think at the end of the day, they're a company that you have to respect, like what they do. You may not have to enjoy everything that they pump out or whatever, but I think ultimately I think at the end of the day, ultimately they do really produce some really good whiskeys. You've got a lot of fanboys out there, all of that with MGP, and I don't want to go as far as saying that's me. I like them. I like the high rye mash bill that they produce, a couple of those. And, overall it's, they do some really, really good things. So, I know we all have MGP. Hopefully everybody in the chat's got something. It's almost impossible to not have something from MGP these days. So, anyway, so let me say real quick, let me say hi to everybody in the chat, and we'll kind of get going and get everybody's, thoughts on things. So, all right, we got a lot of pre-gamers in tonight. So appreciate it. Looks like DJ Beacon was first in. Christopher David, how's it going, buddy? What else we got here? Frank Pittman, how's it going, buddy? Thanks. Brian Butler, how are you? DJ's in here quite a bit. His fingers must hurt. Mike Meyer, how's it going, Mike? Who else do we have here? Brian Griffiths, how's it going? Robot Scott, how's it going, buddy?
Robot Scott.
A1. Peter White, Tim Evans. All right, we got a good group. I'm sure other people will start popping in here. So, and make sure leave in the chat what you guys are sipping on. We'll be talking MGP stuff all night long. Bottled and Bond, how's it going? Check out his YouTube channel, by the way. So yeah, so we're going to kind of go through. Jason and I have a little bit of the kind of the MGP, like their standard lineup. What do they call it again? I forget what they call it. The MGP. I don't know. I forget what they call it. But anyway, there's like
the flavor train. I don't know what they call it.
No. Like what's like their core lineup called? What's this like that we have? What do they call it?
Well, that's the thing with them. They don't really have. They have like a few different brands underneath the MGP umbrella. So they have the Remus.
But what are they calling like the Remus and the Eaton Sand, like all of that? Like what are they calling that? Like what are they like the MGP like product line or whatever the hell it may be?
A core lineup.
Their core, yeah, something. Anyway, so that's what we're going to kind of go through a little bit of those. I've done recently a review of the Remus, their I don't know, whatever this is, their small batch or straight bourbon whiskey. And then tomorrow the Eaton Sand, I'll have that kind of come out. But I wanted to start doing a little bit of the MGP stuff, so kind of keep your eye out for that. And then both of their ryes that they've got, the Rossville Union, which are both actually pretty
tasty ryes if you're a rye fan. So all right.
I got a question for you, Scotty. Do those all use that same high rye mash bill?
You know what? That's a good question. So when they sent me a lot of their information, they weren't actually disclosing which of the high ryes. So I don't know if it's the 36 or I think the other one is like maybe a 22 or 20, something along those lines. But I think for the most part, don't they really only produce a high rye that they do their own stuff under, I believe.
Yeah, this George Remus bourbon is, I believe, their 21% rye.
Okay.
And then for the Remus Repeal, they blend their 21. They also blend their 36 in here as well.
Yeah.
The Eaton Sand, I think, is a 21. And then their Rossville Unions, then you're getting into those are actually low ryes, which I was surprised when I found out. Those are only 51% rye whiskeys.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure what the mash bill on those. I hadn't gotten into like any of the big like research on that part of it yet either. But Yeah, I mean, really, the way I look at these are if you're already a fan of that mash bill, that high rye mash bill, you know, and whether you're like a fan of the Smoke Wagon or the Old Scout that Dan's sipping on, all of those that people will have a tendency to pay bigger money for. If you're okay with paying for something that's maybe a little less in proof, but still has a lot of that solid or same kind of profile, then consider a couple of these, because they're both really easy to sip on, and they offer a really pretty decent value for what they are. I believe they're non-chill filtered. I know the Remus is that we have here, and I think the 8 and Sand is, just based on how it was coating the glass the other day. I think it's non-chill filtered. So again, at lower proofs, you know, non-chill filtered, it makes a huge difference. So what are your guys' thoughts?
I mean, I'm a huge fan of MGP. I did always question why they chose to brand their stuff like this. I do appreciate the Remus brand because I think that's a name. The 8 and Sand blended bourbon, I know there's some historical value to the train and how that all worked out. Rossville Union, again, that's another kind of throwback to Remus and the area where they're from. So I think it kind of mixes up. It kind of muddies the waters, though, for me with it standing out amongst other brands, which is surprising because, you know, as much as we all love MGP, it just seems like a lot of the, like you mentioned, Old Scout, and then there's Smoke Wagon, and then there's, you know, Bardstown using them, and a slew of other.
Belle Meade.
Yeah, Belle Meade. All these companies using Belle Meade and are way more successful with what they're doing with that bourbon than just MGP by themselves, it seems, which is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I would honestly like to see just MGP just have their own label. I mean, just on something, rather than coming through in all these different, you know, Old Scout, Litchfield, you know, Belle Meade, all that kind of stuff. Just having an actual MGP label for themselves, even if it's just one expression, just something that has an MGP label by itself. But again, I'm a really big fan of MGP as well. So, you know, I'm with you guys on that one.
But you also gotta discern what MGP is. There's straight sourcing, and then there's contract distilling, which are two different things.
Yeah,
you know, like people, like we bring up Belle Meade, like they're sourcing from MGP, but they're also creating a proprietary grain blend from MGP.
Yeah.
So I know while Nelson Greenbrier Distilling doesn't have the capacity to do so, you know, it's one thing to just buy whatever stocks that MGP is creating or has aging, and it's another thing for them to be aging stuff that you have that's proprietary. So there is, you have to kind of give credit where credit's due, I think, especially on the Belle Meade side. I think their mash bill, what they're doing is really incredible stuff. But again, that's their own mash bill. It's not an MGP mash bill.
Yeah. And that, you know, and that's the thing. I mean, that's what they do. I mean, they're either contract distilling or people are sourcing whatever it is that MGP puts out, which is, again, typically their high rise. And a lot of people love that. I mean, it offers an awful, you know, it offers a lot. I mean, big bang for the buck in terms of, you know, what it is you get on the profile of those high rise, you know, and a lot of stuff for the most part is still fairly reasonable. I mean, it's not, you know, not everything is super crazy. So there are lots of things that you can still get your hands on. And if you're this is the one thing I always say with MGP is, if you're a bit savvy and understand who it is that's buying certain things from them, and you kind of have an idea of the age, you know whether or not you want to spend $100 on a 5-year bottle versus maybe $40 for the same type of mash bill from somebody else. So if you're savvy from that standpoint, you got to kind of compare apples to apples, because you can, like all of us, you can fall into that quick trap of, you know, because something is a little bit more expensive, that it's going to be better and older. And that's not the case with MGP.
Yeah. I mean, for any of yous out there, I said, And any of yous twos out there that haven't had, I've been drinking a little bit tonight, so the Italian's coming out. So
Here comes the water.
yeah, here comes the water. So if any of yous twos out there have not had this particular bottle of Remus, for about $35-40.
Yeah.
I mean, this stuff, I was very, very impressed at this bottle. I did not think, I'm like, when I got the bottle, I'm like, I'll get around to tasting it. And when I tasted it, I was like, man, I'm a dumb shit for not getting into this sooner. It's 94 proof. It's non-chill filtered. I just looked it up. It's actually a blend of their high rye mash bill. So there might be some of that 35-21 in there together.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's delicious MGP bourbon, and for about $35-40, I mean, it's pretty good.
And I think these are blends of no less than, I think it was either 5 or 6 year bourbons. So already a little bit of age behind it. So when you start doing that same comparison, again, this is a little less proof than what you're going to get in, honestly, a lot of these now. These all hit the market not that long ago.
Correct.
Yeah. Again, now that Old Scout and Smooth Amber, they're kind of pumping things out again. So, again, those are all basically 99 proof. So 5 proof less, you're getting something that's almost the same type of profile. It's very, very similar. So, and I know the price on the new Old Scouts isn't bad, but that's one thing that you just have to, especially with new brands, you've got to be careful what it is you're buying, because it could very well be exactly what we're drinking right now.
So to you guys, what is like if you had to describe the MGP profile, flavor profile, what is it to you?
Oh,
I mean,
I know because
because based on what you're buying, they are blending different barrels from different warehouses. But for me, it's always been very high citrus. You get some cherry, in there. Now, depending on the rye, where it's aged, and how high the rye mash bill is, you could get some herbal quality, some spearmint and stuff like that in there as well.
Yeah. Like for me, like this is a good comparison between the two here. Like this Old Scout is 5 years old. I do get some of the citrus notes on there that you talked about. I don't really get so much cherry on this one, but now this Litchfield, I do. This one's got a heavier oak presence. It was double barreled. It's 10 years, but it's only 90. This one's only 90 proof. Yeah. This was a pick. However, it is a pick through a charity, but completely different flavor profiles while both being MGP.
Yeah, that was actually a good point brought up about the single barrels. That's actually something they only introduced at the beginning of the year. At George Remus Bourbon and Remus and so you have the George Remus and the Rossville Union Ryes will have single barrel offerings, which are kind of cool.
Yeah, and that's
at the beginning of the year.
What's that?
You said only at the beginning of the year?
Well, no, they announced it at the beginning of the year in January. So you'll be able to get 2 different varieties of the George Remus. So you can either pick a 21% rye single barrel or 36% rye single barrel.
Yeah.
And the Rossville Union, you could get the whatchamacallit. There's a 45% corn, 51% rye, 4% malted barley at 100 proof. And then there's another one where it's just rye and malted barley where you can get. So
are you seeing any prices on those? I'd be interested to know like what maybe some of the pricing was going to be on those single barrels.
The George Remus's are supposed to, it says here, is supposed to be about $60, and the bottled and bond, the Rossville Union's about $50. So 16 states signed up to do this initially. Wisconsin, Minnesota, Illinois, Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee, Indiana, Kansas, Missouri, Nebraska, Texas, Arizona, Colorado, Maryland, and Connecticut, and Washington, D.C. So all those states could do picks essentially if they wanted to.
And I think at that price point for what it is you're getting, I'm a big fan of the 36% rye. I love what that offers, the big, bold sweet, spicy, a little bit of oak and everything that's there.
Yep.
You know, still some of those underlying typical bourbon flavors. But the one thing that you just, you know, always get right away is a little bit of that slight citrus note, and then just a nice like amount of spice that's there. Not super peppery, but it does hit you with that really, really nice spice that's there.
Yeah, I do love the spice on MGP. I love that balance of the sweet and the spicy. Some of them, you know, as they get up in age, the oak does take over a little bit. But like I feel like the Remus, like the George Remus Repeal, this one gets into that more cherry cola type flavor profile. It's got some spice there, but this is a funky, beautiful ride. This bourbon, I love it. Again,
with
another bourbon that surprised me was this one.
Yeah.
With this Litchfield, they do have the ones that are barrel strength that I've seen on the secondary before. I never was able to grab one, but I hear they're absolutely fantastic. Like I said, this one is only 90 proof, so it's not, you know, you still get some of the spices from the rye on there, but you know, there is a much heavier oak presence on this than compared to the 5-year-old Scout. So like Jason said, the oak presence does kind of take over the older that the expression gets.
Yeah, and that's one of the things. I mean, some people have to be prepared for like that heavy oak when they start getting into those ages. Like some of the old Scouts, the 10, 11 years, some of the older ones, when they started getting above that, they really started getting oaky, and that oak and that dryness and that real, you know, tannic profile, you know, it can be very, you know, off-putting for a lot of people because it's very dominant. But so Brian Butler says the Rossville local store pick that he got. Well, this is an interesting mash bill right here. 51% rye, 49% malted barley. That's going to be an interesting profile to see how that shakes out, to be honest.
Now, if I'm going off of a high malted barley content, I would think it's probably somewhere. I mean, the Old Forester rye has some corn in it, but remember, the second most dominant grain is malted barley, and it's very floral, and it helps bring out some of those citrus notes and those floral qualities. So I would imagine being that much barley with the rye is probably going to have a good balance of sweet and floral and maybe citrus. Kind of cool.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting one. That's not a, you know, I know a lot of times with the malted barley we see it maybe heavy in bourbons, but almost never like super high in rye, excluding maybe like the Old Forester. That's a little bit different. But I mean, 49% malted barley, that could really be interesting just to see what those two put together kind of do. So
yeah, floral notes have never really, that's always been a note that I'm not a really big fan of is the floral side of things. I don't, you know, and I know some of the Four Roses have, I think it's what the OB, the Q, I think, if I'm not mistaken, is the floral one. I've never really been a big floral type, you know, scent or taste person.
What are you talking about? When we were in Louisville, you were just like prancing through the florist shops.
Yeah. You were pretty light. I remember you were light on your toes there.
Yeah, he was just picking out flowers and go, doesn't this smell like Buffalo Trace? Smell that, guys. I'm only kidding.
Yeah. So
I mean, how do you guys feel about like the floral side of bourbons? I mean,
I think it depends on how strong it is. If it gets into like that perfumey, like fake air freshener floral, then that's awful. If it's like fresh cut, like flowers, or I have a problem picking up some floral notes. It's got to be really distinct for me to grab it. But I mean, there are certain brands I definitely distinguish floral notes that I can see coming out of the glass. Four Roses, some of the single barrel picks are definitely one of them. Some of those are very, you know, fresh cut flower type scents, which is, to get that out of a bourbon to me is just kind of weird, but
yeah,
it happens.
Well, you know, and that's one thing for the floral note for me is something that actually like comes and goes fairly quickly. Like I pick it up like right away, but it seems to kind of fall off, like especially depending on like Four Roses, they have a tendency to be a little bit more spicy. So I start to pick up that a little bit more. So the floral part you pick up kind of like early on and starts to kind of dissipate a little bit. And then that rye kind of kicks in for me. But
so if you guys were to pick your top 3 favorite sourced MGP bourbons, what would they be?
So now this is not contract from, this is people buying shit from MGP and then
Yeah.
Wow. That's wow. Okay.
I don't know. I guess for me, I mean, I'd go back to like a couple of them. I wish I still had them. So 2 of them, I've still got some of the old scouts that were fantastic with a little bit of age, but really well balanced. And then to be honest, some that like came and went really fast that are, you don't hear much about anymore are some of the old OKI from New Riff before they produced their own stuff. They had some absolutely fantastic stuff. And,
oh man, yeah, the OKI stuff was
I
got a chance to try. The only one I ever had was a 12-year. That was somebody sent me a sample of the old OKI 12-year, and that stuff was fantastic.
Didn't
they say they were going to bring it back?
What's that?
Wasn't there some kind of rumor that they were actually going to come back?
They are.
Yeah, OKI is coming back.
Yeah.
Is it coming back?
And again, it'll be still sourced MGP. So Jim Miller was saying the down home. So they've now started switching over to the
to MGP
too. So they've finished this in a toasted barrel. So
yeah, they were originally Barton, correct?
They were originally Barton. They switched up recently, I think, to their 5.5 year, and I think even a 12-year that they've got, I believe, is also MGP. Jim can probably tell us. Jim, I don't know if you've got the 12-year or not, but I think that one was still the MGP. It's a little bit on the pricier side, but it was still very good. The one thing I would say with down home specifically for me was it's a little bit, and I think this is their 21% rye, so it's not their 36, but it's the 21% mash bill.
Yeah.
But the one thing I know with down home, so anybody who has any interest in the down home stuff, is definitely open it up, try it, and then let it sit. It's very kind of oak forward right away, but it'll start to kind of mellow out a little bit, and some of that oakiness will kind of go away, and it'll really open up and get much better for you. So
actually, Bourbon Sane, he mentioned one of the so my top 3 that I've had, one of them, the first bourbon I ever had that was like, holy shit, I have to have more MGP stuff, was one of the Boone County single barrel picks.
oh yeah.
So that was definitely up there. I still think they're doing picks, their older stuff out of Boone County. I mean, I know their juice is starting to come of age a little bit more. It's getting older, but I still think some of those single barrel older picks are still coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably that one.
And Boone County still sourcing through MGP some of their stuff?
I believe so. I'm not sure. I mean, it's hard because as their stuff comes of age, I'm not sure how it comes in and out.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Oh, you gotta remember the old mic drop stuff that people went crazy for.
Yep. And again, so there's another one, but in I guess in fairness to them, early on their pricing wasn't super bad. I thought it was like right around $70 or so. And again, it was maybe a little bit premium price on a 5 or 6 year, but I think those are all 36% rise on those as well. So
yeah, I would say my top 3 right now is probably that Boone County. I got to put Smoke Wagon up there because I love what they're doing right now. And then probably number 1 would probably be Old Carter.
Yeah. Yeah.
And some of the stuff that Old Carter is selecting is just phenomenal. I mean, yeah, it's expensive and it's hard to get, but when you find that right bottle, that batch 5 is incredible bourbon. Just so good.
Yep.
I mean, what was it when we met the Carters in Kentucky?
Mm-hmm.
What was it we tried with them? Was it the batch 2 and 3, or was it
those were the Rise? We tried the Rise, which were 2 and 3.
Yeah, and I think we had is that all we had was just the rye?
No, I think we also had 2 of the bourbons too, but I don't remember what batches they were.
Yeah,
that was a very long day, a long night of drinking.
We drank. I bet like between it was the 3 of us, my dad, Mark, and Sherry Carter in the lobby of the Seelbach Hotel in downtown Louisville, and I bet combined in terms of what we drank there in the lobby, maybe we polished off a bottle and a half, maybe between all of us. It was something like that. We drank a lot of whiskey that night. So
yeah, I remember leaving there, not remembering what hotel I was in, and we were in like the legendary Seal Box.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it goes to show you what a legendary night that was.
Yeah. Oh man, that was
Oh yeah, so Chris said the Valentine Blue Label. So primetime Michael Klein in our blind tasting sent me a 12-year Valentine Distilling Blue Label, which was absolutely incredible. I mean, I was talking about that thing for him for like 2 days. I couldn't stop drinking it. It was insanely good.
Yeah, there's some, yeah. And that's another thing I've heard. Like Valentine, they're another one that, people talk about it for a little while and then it just kind of goes away, kind of. So it's one of those ones I've always kind of kept an eye on to see like where things show up or whatever it may be. But we don't get anything here, and I don't know what the distribution is. But let me say real quick to DJ for the super chat. Thanks, buddy. It says, cheers, Scott. And thanks for reviewing a bottle I actually have, 8 and Sand. You're welcome. You're welcome. I know it's tough. All of us who review things, we all like to try to review kind of the newest, hottest thing. And, and honestly, it does. I mean, it kind of leaves a lot of the everyday bourbons kind of, out there kind of left alone a little bit. But, you can always generally count on me. I can't chase after them like these other guys do. So if you want to look for reviews of things you can buy, come over to the old My Bourbon Journey Whiskey Review channel. He'll help
I got What's on the Shelf Wednesday. You could buy.
That's true. You do. You do.
Actually, these 3 will be tomorrow's episode for What's on the Shelf Wednesday.
Yep, and those are all good ones. So
all available. MGP. Yep. I mean, for the most part. I don't think MGP is available in every state quite yet, but it's getting pretty close.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, in all of these, they're trying their hardest. I know that in talking with one of the reps there about a month or so ago, like they're really trying hard to get all of their core lineup in basically every market. So, and again, I think it's one of those things where they offer a really, really good product for not a bad price. So if everybody doesn't want to plow through like all their Smoke Wagon or some of the older Old Scouts or, Belle Meade, then pick up some of these ones that we're talking about and you get a lot of those same type of profiles and they won't treat you wrong. I'll tell you that. So
let's get into why. So beginning of the year, MGP, their stock plunged, I think, like 25, 26%, some crazy number.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up? ADHD Whiskey's in the house. Hey, beautiful.
Yeah. Big Sexy.
By the way, if none of you have watched his Wild Turkey Bottled and Bond 17-year review yet, it's epic because he sings that song, Psycho. He needs to sing that song in every review he does now. It's fucking
it was pretty good. It was pretty good.
Yeah, so I think that's a big reason why they're trying to push more of their stuff out into the market, because they did a big projection as far as what kind of money they would be making on their in-stock whiskey.
Yeah.
And I think it fell far short of projections. I think probably a multitude of reasons. You have a lot of the distilleries that were relying on them are starting to now come of age and produce and rely less on them.
Yeah.
And then you have some of the barrels that I think are just a lot of a higher price, and guys aren't willing to pay that much money for those barrels. So it's an interesting. So maybe they're trying to make up that difference with their core lineup. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a a good possibility. I mean, I know they're really trying hard to pump this stuff out to everybody. And again, I mean, I think it becomes a pretty decent value if you're looking for that kind of that high rye, profile. Then give these things a try. I think you'll really be happy with them. So I'm moving on to the 8 and stand. So I know we're not going to let the cat out of the bag in terms of what we think about them, because you'll have to check out our reviews tomorrow. Just a couple of plugs so you watch our videos.
I'll give you a couple of notes here, but
like Scott, like you were saying, like some people may not be a fan of MGP, and that's fine, but like you still have to kind of respect what they've done and what they're still continuing to do. I mean, they really have their hands in more than I think what people actually know. If you were to sit down and draw it out and say, MGP has their hands in this and this and this and this and this and this, and they contract through this and this and this and this. It's more than I think what people actually understand, and way more distillers than what we know.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I mean, they're one of those companies where, whether you enjoy the whiskey or what it is that they do, I still think at the end of the day, you've got to respect what they do. I mean, we're just touching on some of the stuff that they kind of put out there in bottles. There's so many companies nowadays that have MGP, whether it's an MGP mash bill or something that the company contracted, but they do an awful lot of stuff for people out there. Cool 62 Chev, the Old Elk. That's a good question. I don't know if they're sourcing still. I would guess yes, only because Greg Metz used to be the master distiller for MGP, so he's got a hell of a relationship with them. So that would make perfect sense. And again, I don't know if Old Elk is producing their own stuff yet, and they just have young distillate or what, but it wouldn't
I have an Old Elk bottle, and I know a lot of people bash it and they say it's not that good, but the pick that I have, I think it came from the who'd it come from? Bourbon Enthusiast, something like that, I think. It's fantastic. I mean, it's really good, so but again, that's I guess when you throw his name in there, saying that he was the former, distilled MGP,
MGP. I'm sorry, Old Elk apparently sources from MGP, New York, and Colorado. 3 undisclosed.
That's what it was.
So
yeah.
But you would think you have MGP and then New York. I mean, who knows who they're sourcing from there? And then you have Colorado, where probably a handful of distilleries like Stranahan's and maybe AD Law's Whiskey House, maybe 291 could be helping them out on that in that area.
Well, in the Colorado one, couldn't that also be isn't High West out of Colorado?
High West is Utah.
Or Utah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Utah.
But they source too, if I'm not mistaken, some of their stuff.
Yeah, they used to. I know they're doing. I think they still have a little bit of that stuff going on. I think it's a little bit less now. But let me say real quick to Patrick Fulmer, thanks for the super chat, buddy. I appreciate it. He says, big fan of MGP here. Good show, guys. Cheers. Thanks, Patrick. Appreciate it. Yeah, and there's so many options and stuff nowadays that your head will spin with all of the different brands. But at the end of the day, I think the most important part is if you can figure out like potentially the mash bill of wherever, whatever it is, that brand you're buying, and an approximate age, you can start to kind of do a little bit of, that brain search where you reference back to like what some of the old either 4, 5, 6, 7-year-old MGPs were, and then start to figure out whether or not the price works for you. So
yeah,
I mean, either way, secondary market on MGP always shoots way up.
Yeah,
it's surprising to me that stuff sells like that, but again, I think the issue also is the brands, the newer brands, or the brands that we talk about, like Old Carter, Boone County, all those, those distilleries are picking amazing barrels, amazing whiskeys. They're just not accessible to everyone. So
Yep.
I think when people do see it on secondary, like, oh, I can't get that. I think that's what makes the market value go up a little bit more.
Yeah.
Rather than just going to the shelf and picking up a bottle of Remus, it's.
Yep.
I mean, this stuff, which I'm going to get into in a little bit, this the Remus 3. This is the batch 3. Batch 4 is coming out soon. This one is it's a blend of 3 different ones. They're very transparent. It's well-aged stuff. I mean, this stuff is delicious and up there on par with some of the better MGP source things that people buy for over $200.
Yeah.
This is available for $100.
Yeah.
So.
Well, here's one thing I would say. So I've got the 8 in sand right now. And when I first tried it, we all default right away to 88 proof. This is going to be watery. It's going to be flat. It's not going to have anything. I'll tell you specifically to DJ who just got a bottle of this.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, when you try it, there's that upfront sweetness, and right away, and Jason, you can tell me if I'm wrong, it has got a lot of spice. There's a lot of character to it, this 88 proof bourbon. It's not like all watered down. Like it's really, the finish again isn't going to be super long or anything, but if you want that classic MGP, it's a really nice bourbon. It's like $30.
Yeah, to me, this is just, it's not overly complex. And I think you hit it spot on, Scott. I think up front, it's citrus, spice, cinnamon, and then some more spice on the back end.
Yep.
Just a nice balance. Doesn't blow you away. Works amazing in cocktails, by the way, guys. So
yeah. And that was one of the things I thought was, with it being like bold and spicy. Again, don't we use a lot of the same like descriptors in a lot of like videos, but it's one of those things where like this has a nice lingering spice to it that makes it an enjoyable everyday sipping type of whiskey. Like this isn't going to win a whiskey of the year award or anything like that. But again, for $30, what it has to offer, it's a lot more than a lot of other $30 whiskeys. So,
Mac Daddy 1976 brought up another good one that I had, Backbone.
Yep, that was another one I was.
Backbone Bourbon from MGP has, yes, they have put out some stellar stuff too.
Yeah.
But again, that's one of those brands that isn't available in a lot of places just yet. So
yeah. And again, for me, I've had some of it, and it's one of those things that a lot of them are super high proof, and they are hot as all get out sometimes. So for me, like when I had the sample of it that I tried a small amount of it and left it. I bet it was a month or two, and I just forgot about it. Went back to it. It had really kind of mellowed out a little bit. Wasn't nearly as hot. So I think with a lot of those things, you got to just let them rest a little bit with some of that stuff. So
if you guys,
hot as in proof or spicy?
Oh yeah.
What's that, Dan?
Was it hot as in proof or spicy?
No, yeah. It was hot in terms of like hot, like heat, not necessarily the spice. I don't mind the spice, but when you get that like intense like gasoline burn, that's a little bit kind of rough for me. I mean, it's just like straight up alcohol, and I don't mind it if I know what I'm about, ready to taste, but when it can catch you off guard. I think the one I had was nearly 140 proof or something. It was really, really hot. But
yeah, you have Patrick Fulmer called out Clyde Mays and Bullet Rye too, which I forgot about. Bullet Rye uses MGP. It's now gotten to the point now where it's probably easier to rattle off a company that sources through MGP than it's not. You can almost just by default pick a name out of the hat, and it probably has, MGP in it. So look, even this one that I did, a Tin Cup Rye out of Colorado. This is like 3 or 4 or 5-year-old MGP rye whiskey cut with Colorado water. So
water.
Yeah.
Water.
Yeah. And it's just, that's the thing. I mean, you have to, when you're drinking these like, let's just say younger, between maybe 4, 5, and 6, because that's where a lot of these barrels are now. A lot of these, things that people are picking. Now, some of them are younger. In 2 year, you can still get a lot of those profiles, but you get a little more of the youth. But the one nice thing I would always say about MGP is even with it being younger, you still get that nice spice that's there to it, which helps for a lower proof whiskey for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I think the lower proof, the spice definitely helps lower proof. If you guys had to choose, like if there were two teams, if you had MGP Rye versus MGP Bourbon, and you wanted to be picked by one of those two teams, what team would you rather go on? Do you like that MGP Rye, or would you rather go to the Bourbon side?
Oh, is that a question?
Yeah. Where do you fall on that side? Would you rather, do you like the Bourbon over the Rye? Do you like the Rye over the Bourbons? Or are you just an equal opportunity MGP lover?
Yeah. I'd probably say C, just because I like both of them. Now, with that being said, like, I'm a huge fan of MGP's 95.5. Like, I think it's really, really good. And if you can get it at a higher proof, it's a fantastic mash bill. The lesser Bullet Rye, all of that kind of stuff, they're still good ryes and great in cocktails. But if you can get like a cask strength rye, and here's, okay, these aren't 95.5, but so the Rossville Union, so this is their barrel proof, and this comes in at 112.6. And again, it's another really solid rye whiskey, lower rye. So like Jason said before, like 51%, and then whatever the remaining, probably, corn and barley. But yeah, it's a lot of just really good stuff. I mean, I know we're like raving over it, but to me, I think it's one of those companies that deserves all of the recognition that they get, because they really do a damn good job.
And again, I mean, to that point, it's, like I said before, when you kind of draw it all out and you see exactly who is affiliated or has been affiliated with MGP, I think you'll be in for quite the surprise.
Yeah. So I guess going back to the 8 and Sand, Jason, what are your kind of initial thoughts on that?
I like the 8 and Sand. I think it's one of the best budget bourbons on the shelf.
Yeah.
I mean, we were talking about it. The sweet, the spice, the citrus notes all work together really great. If you like a little bit of a spice on your bourbon, and for what is it, like 20 something bucks, it's a steal.
Yeah, I think they listed as MSRP as like $30. I mean, I think for $30, again, I think the one main thing that people will look at is the fact that it's 88 proof. It's not 90 proof. And there's a lot of people who are going to definitely pass that up. But I'll tell you, for me, it's probably one of the better sub 90 proof bourbons that I've had, period. It offers an awful lot of bang for your buck in terms of what you're getting.
Yeah, and it's also non-chill filtered.
And that's one other thing that MGP is doing a lot of now. They're not chill filtering a lot of this stuff anymore. So again, there you go. And again, one of the other things we probably didn't talk about much is, and I think MGP is doing this, that I think they're going in at a lower barrel entry proof, which again has a huge, it's a huge factor. Like, I don't think a lot of people totally understand how important it is to go in at that lower barrel entry proof, because when they go to dump these barrels, it's already done on the front end. It's not being done on the back end to proof everything down and just water something down. So that's another huge factor. But let me say real quick, thanks for the super chat, Douglas Papa. Appreciate it, buddy. We appreciate you as well.
Douglas, so, we definitely appreciate Douglas. Yes,
we do. He's the man. Sounds like somebody's got a low battery issue. Someone needs to change their batteries for Smoke Awareness Month.
What?
I hear this beeping. It sounds like someone's batteries are going dead or something. Maybe not.
You hear a beeping?
I hear like that little chirp that you hear from like dead batteries in a smoke detector, but
it just means you got to drink more, Scotty.
That could just be the 8 and Sand, and the other stuff I had prior to these. That's probably
God, I think the hearing aid's going off or something.
That could be. I'll adjust it later. I'll adjust it later.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it was. Just the old mash and drum screwing with the old man again. All right, what else do we have here?
Dude, I'm like 4 years younger than you.
I know. All right, so let's see. As in Smoke Wagon, what do we have here? I don't know what DJ was referencing. As in Smoke Wagon.
I will say, to go back to, I do like the MGP bourbons over the ryes, but when you get that special 95.5 rye from MGP,
yeah,
there's not many whiskeys that beat that out. I'm telling you, some of those are special.
Yeah. Well, and there's another one that we can probably even talk about. So I know we're all fans here of the Foregate, and I believe their newest release that will be coming out, I think very soon, will be I think it's a 95.5 rye source from MGP, but at cask strength.
Yeah.
So there's another one of those things where, I mean, that could be an absolute, home run. So
yeah. So if we have Foregate, I think they announced that last week, Scott, right? Yeah. So their next batch, which would be batch 7, yes, a 95.5 rye from MGP, cask strength. I'm not sure. I don't remember what the age on it is.
I think it was either like 7 or 8 years. So a good age for a rye.
Yeah, that thing's going to be a hitter. Oh man.
Yeah, and I know down the road they've got some really special stuff coming for that specific mash bill that they're gonna do some other crazy things. So let me say real quick, thanks to Will Henderson. Appreciate it. Cheers, guys, coming from a good old state of Hotlanta. So thanks, Will. Appreciate it. And we got another super chat. Brian Butler, thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. Great discussion tonight. Awesome, right? Thanks, Scott. Cheers. But yeah, Brian, thanks. I appreciate it, buddy. Yeah, I figured that this was one of these, topics that a lot of us, we all enjoy talking about it. And I guess before we kind of get too much further, I'd be interested to hear people's thoughts in the chat, like whether you are or are not fans of the MGP. And if you're not, like, why not? What is it about like the MGP stuff that you're not a fan of? I love to hear people's like thoughts on like why they don't like MGP stuff. I'm always interested to hear that.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, you're covering it covers so many though. Like that's the to say that you don't enjoy one of those is. Yeah.
You know what I think a lot of it was. I think when you go back even maybe a few years ago, it was never really, I think, the whiskey. It was because people were all hung up on the fact that so many people were sourcing from MGP. But nowadays, it's really become such a common thing that I think a lot of people have kind of just come to realize that we don't really care necessarily where it comes from. As long as it's really good whiskey, we don't really give a crap,
Yeah.
So
yeah, but there's Jim Muller brought it up in the chat. He says he's a fan when it's picked properly. I think there's been some funky MGPs that I've had, but for the most part, when people blend it right or they choose it right, it's phenomenal stuff. But you always get one of two reactions when someone looks at it and says, "Oh, MGP." Either kind of roll their eyes, or they say, "Hell yeah, I love MGP." I don't know why you would roll your eyes because most stuff is good. I mean, obviously, if it's on the younger side, you might not be too impressed with it, and I get that. But that's with any distiller. So that's not just an MGP thing. A lot of terrible distillate gets created. That's young whiskey that's not from MGP. So I would probably take young, not so good MGP distillate over brand new distillate from distiller that's terrible.
I would agree, and I think the reason for that is it has everything to do with that mash bill. When you get those high ryes, they offer you a lot more in terms of flavor, and whether it's masking something or changing something, it's just that mash bill in terms of what it does. And I've had some younger ones. We've all had younger stuff, but you get some of those 2 years where maybe they're a little young, but it's just a great mash bill. So
yeah, plus it's about transparency too. You have to, I don't appreciate the people that hide the fact that they're sourcing from MGP. Like, what's the big deal?
Yeah. I think a lot less people nowadays care that things necessarily come from MGP. I think people appreciate more transparency, and if anybody has any idea how to read the back of a bottle, you'll see everything will say distilled in
Indiana,
Lawrenceburg, Indiana, or whatever, and where that's coming from. So
that's what I like about Bardstown is how transparent they are about where everything came from.
Yes. Well, speaking of Bardstown, this beast is probably my favorite bourbon. So the Wild Turkey bottled in Bond 17, and this is probably 1A and 1B of my favorite bourbons this year. This is 12-year-old cask strength MGP finished in Armagnac cask for 18 months, and it's the most phenomenal, ridiculously delicious thing. I love it. I wish I had more. I only have one. Damn it.
Oh. So let's see. So Will said before, we kind of touched upon this a little bit earlier. He said he loves MGP. I wish they promoted their brands a little more. They're trying. I think this is part of it. I mean, they're trying to get a lot of this stuff out to people who do reviews and just into the general market, because I think they're just trying to get their brands out there, so.
Yeah. I mean, me and Scott were talking about it. MGP reached out to both of us. They sent us a few bottles of their things so we can taste and review. I think they're really trying to get their stuff out in the market.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all you can really do is kind of get the word out there. But I do find it curious that you have MGP sitting on the shelf that people don't pay attention to, yet when it's sourced by another brand, people go crazy for it. I think that's the thing that really confuses me.
Yeah. Well, like we touched on before, like Brian was asking, I'd love to hear why people why they think basically it's not good stuff. And I think the reason for that is just because sometimes people get the young stuff and then right away they don't like it and this and that. And those are really, for the most part, the only MGP stuff that I've ever heard that people really don't like is the young stuff. So
and MGP is the Nickelback.
No,
it says tons of hits, but not much respect.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good one. I might have to steal that. I might have to steal that one. So that's a pretty good one.
I do like that one.
That's funny.
Mike, good job there, bud. That's the
common. Scott, you still have your mic drop, Scott?
Yeah, but again, I mean they're $70, 5-year MGP. So you can get that. Honestly, you can get that right here. And it's the same thing for $35. So if you, again, like we were talking before, if you know what it is you're buying, you can save yourself a few bucks sometimes. And again,
there's another brand using MGP, Old Pepper.
Oh, okay.
This is an 11-year cask strength single barrel. So,
what was the year?
That's definitely that's spicy, right? Like rye spicy.
Oh, it's got some rye spice to it. It's got some cherry. It's got some chocolate note in it. I mean, it's definitely delicious stuff.
See, I'm not going crazy. Cool 62 Chev. The chirp is real. Oh, maybe it's just wherever that.
I think that's we were trying. Dan is getting a little bit of feedback from his phone, so I think that's what you guys are hearing.
That's what it was. All right, now I don't feel so old anymore. All right, what do we got here? So the 4-year,
the old Willett 4 MGP was amazing. Yes, it was.
Yeah, the old one.
Yeah, that's what I mean. The old 4 years that were sourced from MGP were delicious.
That new stuff isn't MGP at all anymore. So this must be the 4 me just see what we got here. No, so this one even so this is the newer 4-year Willet, and it says on the back distilled, aged, and bottled by Willet Distillery. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, when you go back,
old Willet was MGP.
Yeah, older. Yeah, I forgot when the cutoff was. I think it's still pretty recently when they started doing their own stuff. But the older 4 years, the Willets were pretty. Those old Willet ryes were amazing when they were coming out of MGP, even at 4 years.
That's one, man. I tell you, there's some insanely expensive Willet out there on the market. I mean, it's crazy, man.
Yeah, so that store release they did a couple weeks ago was a 15, 16, or 17-year-old bourbon.
Yeah.
That was priced retail at the shop for, what was it, $800?
It was $7.99.
Yeah, and then immediately saw it on secondary for over $2,000.
Yeah.
So it's like, what? I mean, what the hell are people doing?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Willet is as far as I'm concerned, Willet is like a major fanboy type thing. People love it. They want to claim it. And I don't even know if people like drink Willet. You never see anybody drinking the stuff. They just have bottles of it.
I know a couple guys that I've dealt with on the secondary that collect them and drink them too. And it's just, they're dropping hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars on those bottles.
Anybody who drinks like Old Willet, that's fake news. Nobody drinks Old Willet. I'm just kidding.
Will Henderson says High West is epic MGP. Yeah, when everything was MGP at High West, that stuff was really good. I mean, now they're putting their own distillate into it.
Yeah,
I don't think it's as good just yet, but it's getting there.
Yeah, I know High West for a long time. Early on, they were sourcing really old Barton and blending it. So, yeah, Karen, a lot of people.
High West was Barton.
Yeah, it was really old. It was like 16 or 17-year-old Barton that they were blending in their stuff before, which obviously they're not doing that anymore. I think that changed even going back a few years ago. So,
the Remus Repeal. For those of you who never had this and love older MGP, this is on the shelf for $100, and it's cherry cola, it's oak, it's spice, it's everything you love about MGP. And it's available and it's absolutely delicious. If none of you have had this, I completely recommend it. If you love that MGP profile, it's really, really good stuff.
Yeah, here you go. Like we were talking before we went live, here you go. $1,800 to $2,000 on secondary for the E.H. Taylor.
Yeah, insane. I don't know where these valuations come from, really.
I think people realize that it's super rare, and they throw a number out and someone sets the market, and if people bid lower, they go there. But as soon as you get some crazy person with a bunch of money who bites on it, there you go.
Yeah, and then you have, it happened with the Colonel Taylor single barrels that popped up. The first store pick out of Chicago. Those things, guys were trying to trade that for Pappy off the bat.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like, all right, I have this. Let me put it up on secondary because nobody has one yet. I could probably get some excitement build up out of it, and let's see what I can, I can get for it.
If I paid $1,500 for the E.H. Taylor Mirage, which I'd have to pay $1,500 for divorce papers.
Yeah, seriously. I'm trying to just find someone that's actually going to open their 18-year E.H. Taylor, and maybe I could buy a sample off of them, but there's no way I'll see a bottle of that. Most of us won't.
Yeah, even if you got a sample, I could even like split a 2-ouncer or something. I'd be willing to chip in for that bad boy just to kind of see, because I think again it's another aged 100 proof E.H. Taylor. So I'd like to see what the difference is.
Yeah, like I'm lucky here. So here in Ohio, E.H. Taylor single barrel does come into the state, and I could get it for about $65-$70. Hey, guess what? Some fucking moron in the store didn't pick it, and I don't have to pay $600 for it. I got a single barrel right behind me. I'm good. I got it for $70. So go screw yourself.
That's the thing. again, I've not had some of the other, like, you know, the tornado surviving thing, but I mean, me personally, I find it really hard to believe that some of those values that those bourbons even remotely hold up to, let's just say, like a good single barrel from E.H. Taylor, because I mean, I don't know, like I was never very impressed with like the the E.H. Taylor 4-grain. I thought it was average, you know, but you know, whatever.
I have a 2017 E.H. Taylor single barrel that's absolutely phenomenal. It is just, it's cherries and some spice and citrus. It's fantastic. I think I thought I sent you guys a sample of it. Maybe not though.
All right, so John, I think everybody probably knows him from Instagram, but the Wisconsin whiskey sipper, he's local-ish for me. And there's a liquor store probably about 45 minutes south of me called Amon's, and they've got this big terrace up there, and he gets a lot of really good stuff. And he had mentioned that they have the E.H. Taylor Mirage. John, let me know what he's selling that there for. I don't know. I know you said he had a bottle, but depending on how pricey it is, maybe it might be gone already. But if not, let me know. And that might be something I might need to go down and get something from. But all right.
Yeah, Weller's single barrel event is tomorrow. Yeah, that's going to be another. Any Weller is going to be. I mean, even the regular guys. If you go on Facebook and follow Buffalo Trace, and when they have their event posted there, the comments on it are hysterical. People just being like, "Hey, how about you assholes concentrate on making enough shit that I can just go get Special Reserve instead of coming out with all these unicorns." I mean, true.
I would say with, specifically Buffalo Trace, that's probably the one thing that most people get upset about, is the fact that everything that comes out of Buffalo Trace now is just like allocated. Nobody ever sees it. It's just ridiculous. So, man, that's crazy. I wish I would have known this. So John was saying that it is gone, but it was $30 a pour.
Oh, I would have paid $30 to try that.
Yeah, easy. I would have definitely. I got to contact him next time if he gets any crazy stuff. Or John, if you hear of any of these crazy things coming in, I'll go down there and do a live review if I have to. I'll just sit there with John and do a review.
Dude, yeah, you would totally have to, because if you're in the moment there, definitely just try it.
I know he said I could come down there and do stuff if I wanted, but
Mac Daddy, what's the best MGP whiskey each of you have ever drank? Wow.
And you know what? I'll tell you. I mean, I still think it's even like now. For me, I think with what Old Carter's doing, I think they're just killing it. Like that, and some of the older Old Scouts. Which, let's go ahead. Let me pour. I'm gonna pour this in a separate glass. I'm not going to.
That's one of the.
Really this is one of the older 11-year-old Scouts. But yeah, I mean, the older stock was just. It was just different. I mean, it just had a little bit of a different profile. You're not getting a lot of that old age stuff anymore. I mean, it's kind of long gone. So,
Scotty, that was a single barrel, right?
This is So this one was bottled on, what is this? 5/31/16. So yeah, I mean, you're going back to 2005 when this one was. When this one was done. So some of their older stuff, but it was just that older MGP just had a different profile to it. So,
I mean, to answer his question, I mean, it's very hard because, again, MGP covers so many things. But I would agree with the Old Carter. Old Carter is fantastic. And yes, it is expensive, but again, it is very, it's solid stuff. I mean, from what we tasted, it is really, really good stuff.
Unfortunately, I didn't have a lot of the Old Scouts, the old stuff. I had one that I thought was pretty phenomenal. I would definitely put that up there. A Boone County 13-year single barrel I had. I remember that just blew the doors off of anything I'd ever tried. And I would say, Old Carter batch 5. Then we were talking about how good that batch is. It's amazing. If anyone knows anywhere that has a bottle that's for sale close by, please tell me. I am trying to find a bottle of that stuff. It's just not available where I am, unfortunately.
Yeah, so like, and don't sleep on some of these lower proof ones again. So Belle Meade, again, it's like a little over 90 proof. This is their cognac finished one, but again, non-chill filtered, and I believe again low barrel entry proof. It really makes for an absolutely flavorful lower proof whiskey. So I mean, they're just, I mean, Belle Meade is kind of killing it with some of their stuff. Especially their cast strength stuff. That's fantastic.
Yeah, their cast strength reserve is probably some of the best, for $60. It's just an amazing buy. Great value. I would put that up there with, Rare Breed, Old Ezra, some of like the better value cast strengths that you can get.
Yeah. For me, again, my top three, I mean, like you pointed out, Jason, I had that Boone County single barrel, the Ghost collection, I think it was, something like that.
It's made. It's made by Ghosts. Don't forget.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
Yeah,
that was so good.
So good.
Yeah, Richie mentioned before, like some of the old MGP, like those 13-year-old single barrels. When they started getting above that 11-year mark, they started getting much more tannic. It wasn't as enjoyable. Like the between 9 and 11, those were like really a nice sweet spot for a lot of the old Scout stuff. So,
I got to tell you though, I'm excited for that 4-gate release, that 95.5 7-year barrel proof rye. That can't be bad.
Yeah, I think actually I believe you can buy it now over on like Sealbox, I believe. And I think it's like 175. Yeah. So
looking it up.
Yeah, I think you can get it there. I think it was there the other day. It's something I'm considering pulling the trigger, because here's a little bit of a teaser. I'm not going to say what it is. I know what it is, but I can't say anything. It's down the road, so it's going to be what are they calling the river something or other, the new 4-gate something. I forget the name of it, but what they're going to do with it down the road, I think in the next year, is going to be like incredible. So if you want a good cast strength rye already, you can probably pick it up from I think Sealbox, I believe.
What they're going to do with their
with the rye that we're talking about right now.
Oh, okay. So they're gonna be finishing it in something funky, I would assume.
I can't confirm or deny.
It is for sale on Sealbox.
Okay. And
there it is, batch 7.
And I think it's 175. But I mean, knowing what 4-gate does, like all of us, I mean, again, the 175, it's pricey. We get it. But I mean, I'll tell you what, if I could pick like one of those companies that you're just always excited for, like them and Old Carter for me are always something I'm very interested in what they do. So it's 113.2 proof. It's 7 years old. 95.5 rye to malted barley. Adding to the cart. Yeah, it's adding to the cart. There you go.
Adding to the cart.
Well, yep. So yeah, it's a good one, but so there we go. I mean, we kind of touched upon a lot of things tonight. I know that was a quick hour. I knew it would go by really fast, because this is what anybody, this is what happens anytime you start talking about MGP. Things just go crazy, and people have a lot of opinions, good, bad, indifferent, whatever it may be. But
but remember, out of all the great stuff we talked about, keep in mind, there is just like great MGP just sitting on the shelf, guys.
You got it.
You don't have to go too far to get some. I mean, unless it's not in your state.
No, that's the thing. So I mean, if you just do like, even we didn't even touch upon their rise. So I mean, this one that we have here, $45. It's a really, really good bourbon. The 8 and Sand, $30. Don't sleep on that. I'm telling you, it's a really nice everyday bourbon.
Hey, Scott, before we get off, you want to taste through the barrel proof rye?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. Let me get rid of that. So yeah, I guess what we could do is, well, I mean, if you guys want, we can keep going a few more minutes. Do you want to just do a quick little side by side of the lower, or just do
just do the barrel proof one.
Yeah, why not?
I'll drink my Michter's rye.
Oh,
Dan, while we're doing that, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about that and what we did with that one?
yeah.
All right, so yeah, this is the Michter's rye that Scott, Jason, and I went to Fort Nelson, and we actually poured these bottles straight from the barrel, put the labels on, everything. It was an amazing experience. And this current batch, I believe, is still the highest proof to date. It's 115.2 proof. And I'm going to tell you, and it's not because the sentimental value behind it, because we went and poured it. This is probably one of my top 5 favorite ryes I've ever had. Comparing it side by side to a normal Michter's single barrel rye, it is completely different. The flavor wheel on this thing is all over the place. There's chocolate, there's spice, there's citrus, there's oak, there's pepper. There's dill. It is just all over the place, and it is. I don't know if you can tell in the picture, but it is so dark. And just it's absolutely fantastic. I cracked it on my birthday, which was on the 16th of this month, and it is dwindled down quite a bit. So I am going to put the rest of it away, but it is absolutely fantastic, and I can't wait for these guys to crack theirs.
I think Dan lost his. I think most of that's angel share. I think, right, Dan? Yeah. When I say angel share, I mean that's you. You're the angel drinking it.
Yeah. Dusty Dusty's like, if the angel is my belly.
Yeah.
Again, I'm waiting for these guys to crack theirs. I know it was kind of a special occasion thing, and it is honestly it's one of my top 5 favorite ryes I have ever had. Everything I've ever tried.
Even before we poured that one and we got to fill the glass with that one at 115.3 proof, which we were like, holy shit.
Yeah.
The Michter's barrel proof rye was already up there in my top 3 like favorite ryes, to get. So
and that was.
And I mean, this is just. I'm guessing.
Well,
the age on this has to be 12 to 14 years, somewhere in there, because it's so dark.
Well, we didn't even touch upon the fact that this is, it's a single barrel. We got it out of one barrel, and when that was gone, it was gone. They just tapped individual barrels, and that's what we got. And they were, the lady even said, I think we were the highest one as of basically June of last year. But I don't know. I mean, getting above 115, that's gonna be kind of difficult. I mean,
considering they're going in at 103, to get up to 115,
I
mean that was definitely a hot summer.
And again, you can just tell by the color on it. Like when I know it's kind of hard to tell through the bottle for you guys, but when you pour it into a glass and put it side by side to another Michter's barrel strength rye, it's going to blow you away. I'm telling you.
Well, I think maybe when I'm back in either September or October this year, and hopefully things will be going again, I'll definitely get down there. And if they've got another rye, I'll probably do another one or at least something else and crack her on open. That's for sure. So, but going back to some of the ryes. So the Rossville Union, again, these are both like really solid ones as well. So the one kind of cool thing that they do is on the front of their bottles, they indicate the amount of barrels used for each of the batches. So like this one specifically, and I guess Jason, you can tell me if you've got the same one, but the one for this batch was barrels used was 159.
Oh, that's what I got. Barrels used 159, yeah.
And then just to go the barrel proof and real quick, the barrels used was 83.
Yep, I got 83, 112.6 proof.
Yep, same here. So, and again, these are relatively affordable. I think the regular, what is this one, 94 proof, I think is right in that $40, $45 range. And I think the barrel proof one is in that $60 range. So again, I think good price points for what it is you're getting.
All right, so let's you want to try the non-barrel proof first?
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of dill, some spearmint there.
Definitely minty dill, a little bit of I get some almost like fresh rosemary on there.
Oh, interesting. A little herbal.
Very, very herbal, yeah.
And maybe like I was getting a little bit of that like kind of black pepper note, which I get a lot of times with ryes.
Mm-hmm. You definitely get the citrus note on there, but it's more herbal than citrus to me.
Yeah, for sure. But a really nice nose. I mean, it's a,
it's again, this is surprisingly, it's a lower rye content on this 51%. So, and I think what they were going for is they wanted to create a more approachable rye whiskey, for their core brand. So, again, with that dill and some of that rye note, there is some sweet caramel there. There's some good sweet notes in there too.
Yeah, I would say, I guess how I would kind of, talk about this one would be, I think this is very much a bourbon drinker's rye whiskey who enjoys something with a little bit of that tangy like rye spice to it.
It's got a little smokiness to it a little bit.
It does have a little something to it like that. Boy, I just got like really late more of that citrus, like really way more of like a orange citrus on that for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
I love that in a bourbon.
Yeah. So yeah, and this again is just their 94 proof. So hopefully the one, whatever this is, 112.6 will be kind of amped up a little bit more. So
yeah, the more you sip this, I get like fresh orange peel.
Yeah, it's really that citrus comes out late in it. That's for sure.
Not orange, not like fresh orange, but like orange peel. It's like that. It's a little bit. It's got a slight bitterness to it, not in a bad way.
Yeah,
like the pith from the orange peel.
It's like there's this like orange brightness to it. There's something that's like very like fresh is what it is.
I feel like it's like walking into a Christmas tree store with a bunch of orange candles like lit everywhere.
This was one of the things my dad always said about Jason. My dad always says, he's like, I love how like he'll get to drinking and then all of these descriptors will come out. He's like, this guy describes things better than anybody I've ever heard. Cheeks appreciates that. So
I love Cheeks.
Cheeks always refers to that, which is Cheeks is my dad, and you guys don't know the story, but he always refers to it as these two guys as musty and dusty. That's what they are. That was a pretty good trip a year ago.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna switch to the barrel proof now.
Right. Same here.
That story though, man, that had me. I died on the inside. I died. Then we sent him those birthday videos.
We can't retell the story because no one tells it like your dad. All we can tell you guys is that it involves an olive and a Coke bottle.
Yeah, that sounds really bad. But if or one day, maybe one day, anybody who's on the stream right now or watches it later on, I'll do another one, and all of us will get on, and I'll get my dad, and I'll have him tell the story. And I know the olive and Coke bottle doesn't do that one any justice, but I'll tell you what, when you hear the full story, it's pretty damn impressive what he does with that.
You can use your imagination, but after that, do you guys remember the old Budweiser commercials? Real man of genius.
No.
Like, you don't remember the Real Man of Genius commercial? Was it Budweiser?
Yeah.
After your dad told that story, he was officially labeled, in my eyes, as a real man of genius.
Oh man, it was.
Yeah, it was like those old commercials would be like, I forgot. I wish I could remember like one of them, but he's like Coke bottle, olive guy. I don't know how you even.
That might be a super chat worthy story to tell.
Yeah, but your dad has to tell that story. Though.
Oh yeah. No, it's not going to be me. I can't possibly tell that story. When he was telling it, we were all like, "Holy shit!" Like we didn't see that one coming. So
yeah, and he totally said it with a straight face. Like it was no big deal, and we're like, "What the fuck?"
And you'd have to know my dad. He's very like mellow and calm, but like under certain circumstances, when it's like time to perform, like from an athletic background, he'll just like, it's hammer time. Like, let's go. You got to do what you got to do. So,
all right. So the barrel proof to me has more. This one I'm getting more like bourbon notes on the barrel proof.
do you get a little more dill on this one?
I'm not getting as much dill as I'm getting on the one that was proof down. This one I'm getting more caramel, vanilla. I am getting the dill, but to me it's not nearly as strong as it was in the proof down one.
Yeah. I definitely don't get as much citrus definitely on the nose, but
yeah, me either. This one is more caramel, a little bit of dill. I would agree. I think the water brought out the dill notes in the proof down one.
That could be. Yeah, this one is much more like drinking a high rye bourbon, that's for sure.
Oh, you get the
there's a crazy difference between the two then.
Yeah, on the nose, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, on the palate, I still get the orange tree.
Yeah.
The orange tree.
Yeah.
there is some of that. There is some of that like pininess that's there to it. Like that. It's very like herbaceous again.
It's like if you decorate your Christmas tree with oranges, that's what's in the glass.
Because most people do decorate their trees with oranges, so I can see.
My grandmother did that. She had no concept of decorating a Christmas tree, so throw oranges on that shit.
That's the best. But yeah, there's a little more pepper, a little more heat to it, but more of the vanillas, the caramels. It is more along the lines of like a high rye bourbon than it is.
Definitely more mouth coating, but it finishes like a rye though. You get the herbal, the mint on the finish. It's not so much up front like the proof down one is. This is more sweet up front, starts as a bourbon, and then really finishes like a rye. But
yeah.
Still get that citrus. It's good. I mean, it's solid. I mean,
yeah.
If you like more of the rye forward, the spearmint and the citrus notes on your ryes, then I will say it's not the 95.5 MGP rye that you love.
Yeah.
I think, but from what I read, they crafted this in order to make it more appealing to the masses. So
yeah. And that's kind of what they're doing with this core lineup. They're really trying to appeal to, people outside of all of us who are necessarily nosing and tasting things. They just want a good, flavorful, whiskey. And now you've got one at 94 proof and then just amped up to, 112 proof. So both solid, again, probably 40 and 60 bucks. I think they're probably worth the money.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I would probably, for this one, I'd probably rather drink the Old Forester for half the price.
Okay.
But this one, the barrel proof, I would spend the money on that one. I think that's a damn good rye. I love the spicy herbal and citrus combination, and you throw in some of the bourbon notes in there. I think it's great.
Well, and just like anything, when you start getting those a little more proof to it, you start pulling out more of those bold flavors, which, everybody really, really appreciates. So, but
yep.
All right. Well, there you go. There's a little something about MGP and kind of what they have to offer, at least from a daily sipping type of, standpoint. So I would say don't sleep on them, give them a try. I really think you'll be, happy with any of these that you try. I think they're all a really nice, solid, everyday kind of, whiskey. So
before we sign off, Mike Meyer, best available MGP under $50. Go.
Oh boy, Mike, under $50. Oh boy, under 50.
Blah, 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 blah.
Boy, I mean, I'll tell you what, okay, maybe it's not $50, but you might be able to get one of those like Belle Meades for like right around $60, 55 or $60.
I think you could find something cheaper than that.
Yeah, probably.
Because isn't the sour mash one? I thought that retails for like $39.99.
Is it that low? Okay, I wasn't sure.
I believe so.
I mean, I wish it was more available, but the smoke wagons are priced about $50, and those things are incredible. But unfortunately, it's just not available everywhere.
Yeah. Well, they do have their, what do they call it? Not the small batch, but what's the one that's like $30?
Yeah, that's just like their straight bourbon.
You know, and again, so there you go. So it's like $30. It's a lot of places. I know you can get it online. It seems like it's everywhere. And in talking to or just seeing like what Aaron says about it, he's been blending a lot of more older stuff in there. So I think again, that becomes a really good kind of bang for your buck, $30 high rye. I think they're 36% mash bill on that one.
Yeah.
So
I think it's 35 or 36 they got. But
the tricky part behind that question is like there's different things available in different places. You know what I mean? Like, you know, Boone County is available up there. You know what I mean? It's not some. I've never seen it here. I've had to get mine off the secondary.
Yeah, we don't have
Belle Meade is a little more, you know, widespread. You know, some of the stuff that you guys are drinking right now, like I don't really see that around here. But you know, so I guess it really just depends on your area and where you'll find something. But again, you know, under the MGP umbrella, there are tons and tons of rye bourbons, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you have the what do we brought up the Backbone. There's the Tumbling Dice.
Yeah.
There's a few brands that are out there for about $50 that you can get that are really good. That's really good quality stuff. Even the Mayor Pingree stuff. I mean, that stuff's really good.
Yeah.
So
that's another one. I forgot about that.
So I think depending on your location, the budget MGPs are a little bit vast. But I think if you're just looking for something on the shelf, I mean, this for about $30-$35 is pretty good.
I'm telling you, it really is a good, when you just want to say an easy sipping like bourbon. I'll tell you what, that Remus, that, you know, that small batch or whatever they call it, they're straight bourbon whiskey.
Yep.
It's a really nice bourbon for what it is. 94 proof, and it's I think the MSRP on it is like $40. I mean, it's a really good one. And this one, like we talked about before, the 8 and Sand, it's $30 and has some really nice flavors. So there you go. But well, thanks everybody for joining tonight. This was kind of what I wanted to do with this, was just talk a little bit about MGP and what they had to offer, all of that good stuff. So thanks to Jason and Dan for joining tonight. I know it was kind of a little bit of a you know, last minute type of thing that we put together, but yeah, appreciate you guys jumping on. So yeah, next week I'm trying to work on getting some other live streams. I've got a couple of things that I'm working on to try to get some you know, owner, you know, distiller things going. And then one other thing I'm going to start doing with my channel is, because it's something I've enjoyed for a long time, but just never really, you know, kind of mixed it in with what I, you know, the whiskeys and stuff, is I'm going to start doing a little bit of the whiskey and cigar pairing stuff. So, you know, I know, you know, YouTube's a little funny with the cigar stuff, which is a little bit weird, but I don't care. I like it. I like to try to pair the two. So if you guys are interested in that, I'm going to start doing a few whiskey and cigar pairing videos with things, and probably even have on some of the cigar blenders and things on the channel. So if that's of any interest to you, then you know, I welcome you to join. So with that being said, so everybody, thanks again for joining tonight. We'll be back next Tuesday with something. Thursday, I'm actually doing a barrel pick for Elijah Craig at a local store here, so that'll be kind of cool. But yeah, so other than that, as always, thanks everybody for all the super chats. Greatly appreciate that. Jason, Dan, thanks for joining tonight. And yeah, cheers, guys. And we'll see you next Tuesday. See ya.
Happy birthday, Dusty.